I call the Honourable Member Asanati Lole-Taylor.
Tāra whalawa, malur soifua, malelangi mama, Mr. Speaker.
Malo soifua.
Whaptai mo lea wanoa. Thank you for the opportunity. Kia ora kātou, tātou katoa. I rise on behalf of New Zealand First Party to provide a realistic viewpoint to this debate, this third reading of this so-called Social Security Youth Support and Work Focus Amendment Bill. I am somehow stunned by John Banks and the former Speaker's contribution. I think, and I suggest perhaps Melissa Lee needs to stick to the motorway debates. That's where she can do better. Let me be real here. There is no question surrounding the argument that New Zealand needs to address the key issue of welfare reform or welfare dependency. However, this bill does not guarantee this. In fact, Mr. Speaker, the only thing I can guarantee is that our children, our youth, are being used as guinea pigs in a reform system. This government is also too keen to rush a Trojan horse, you might call it, which allows this government to implement other legislation, like perhaps the next one will be a youth rate. The youth rate will be coming up next at $10.50 or even less. And there is nothing wrong with dreaming a fantastic dream. And those who dream recognise the importance of dreams that brings about positive aspirations. We all agree on that. In my previous role as a facilitator for professional development and of course with the Department of Corrections, I often talk to the participants about dreams and their relevance to life. I believe this bill was meant to be the link between our youth's dreams and achieving positive goals in life. After all, the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. However, as we all know, while we acknowledge those who dream of a better future, it is also fair to say that where there is a dream, there needs to be a vision. Because a dreamer can dream the most fantastic dream, but only a visionary can bring that dream come true. And that is where New Zealand First believes in. I don't know about the members on that side of the House, especially the only ACT MP, John Banks. From where I sit, this bill is much more suitable to be called missing in action benefits, or let me say missing the point benefits bill. The government, of course it's not silly, you should know that bit. I mean, people up in your electorate, Mr. Mark Mitchell, are also in that area. A lot of them are actually in this category. The government has failed to put in place a strategic plan on job creation for those who would be affected by the introduction of this bill. Is the Minister, if I could ask this, is the Minister and the national government actually concerned about our youth? Or are they happy to sit back and use the estimated $520 million funding not for our youth but to fund information technology package to run the reforms, not to mention the additional cost to keep it operating? If paper shuffling were a job the Nats would be done good at, how can we guarantee what this government believes? And I emphasise the word believes, because it means we will rely on their interpretation, the right interpretation for youth. Mr. Speaker, yes, job training programs are essential. And by the way, can the government confirm if they are receiving funding from the Australian federal government for these proposed training programs? Because they are certainly going to be the beneficiary of this legislation or this bill. Our tertiary education, students, are actually already on a one-way ticket to Australia. Instead, this minister is proposing to boost the growing exodus. The national government is doing very well as an employment agency for Australia. We can all recall a former national government Prime Minister who once said that New Zealanders who emigrate to Australia raise the IQ of both countries. It is sad that the government is pushing this bill through a speedy implementation of legislation in order to avoid close scrutiny and deprives ordinary New Zealanders a fair opportunity to have their say. The chairman of the Select Committee and the national members of the Select Committees put forward an unrealistic time frame when calling for submissions. While reducing long-term welfare dependency is something that this government needs to address, so must be the schemes to provide realistic solutions for jobs. I can tell everyone in this House and those who are listening to this debate right now what this is a solution to. This bill is merely a sugar coating. That's what this is all about. And New Zealand First is concerned about a number of changes proposed in this bill. These include the use of the private sector to find jobs, information sharing provisions within the bill, wider welfare reform package, and of course the tax to the taxpayers. Why is that? Because there is no saving to the taxpayers. At the end of the day, when you look at this bill, there is absolutely no saving to the taxpayers. The most appropriate title then for this bill should be Political Cronyism Benefit Bill. Under this bill, the cost to the taxpayers not only is not reduced, the paying out and administration of the benefit just shifts from work and income to inland revenue. The bill does not give the opportunity to our youth to learn how to be independent, and that's the crux of this debate. Then there is the second phase of this bill that really gets me. Bottom line is, will this government provide jobs to widowers, to those on DPP, and women living alone beneficiaries? Some of those people did not have the choice of becoming solo parents. Some of their partners died for some, reasons, and so they were put in that position not because of their choice, but because of facts of life. With respect to the provision relating to the use of the national student number, we support that totally. We understand the need for that to happen. We also agree with the Privacy Commissions that the changes in this bill target a group of whom trust in authority may already be in short supply. New Zealand First has some serious reservations about increase with the use of private sector in finding jobs. The goal is to pay private companies or organisations for every person that comes off the welfare. The underlying principle is fine. We all agree with the underlying principle. The approach and the implementation of the bill is what we need the Minister and the government to perhaps hear what we're trying to say that needs to fix. Women, for as long as we can remember, have always had an important role in our community. Having a child or becoming a housewife is not a matter of choice. It is actually, that's a duty. That's a duty for some of our women. It is a duty which is willingly accepted by many and in some circumstances compulsory. Extending work availability, expectations and pre-benefit activities to this category is simply government formed on an impetuous nature. By nature, they are again put into action privately run bureaucracy firms. This should not be a shortcut to creating jobs. This is about getting people off the benefit and into jobs. And my challenge to the government is that put in place a strategic plan that will realistically and genuinely provide jobs for our community. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The New Zealand First does not support this bill.
I call Tim McIndoe.
Mr. Speaker,